Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the Blind Gooner, and welcome to all the viewers on Facebook as well. Listen, we're going to have a bit of a debate today. We're going to be talking about Arteta and his time running out for Arteta. Because listen, at the moment it's dividing opinion. Some people like him, some people want him to stay, some people are backing him. But there are a section of the fan base that are not convinced by him, shall we say. You know, his substitutions in the last couple of games arguably have been a lot to be desired. So, listen, we're just going to be talking about that today. Listen, I just want to also say as well, thanks to everybody who's been tuning into the streams over the last week or so, for the watch-alongs and for the obviously all the Arsenal shows that we put out. I'm joined by Sam Greenwood. How are you, Sam?
I'm great, Daniel. Thanks for having me again. It's always a pleasure to be here on your channel, mate. And I see the chat is quite active already. Good to see all you guys in the chat. A lot of regulars there, I see. It's going to be an interesting debate, I suppose. Discussion at least, I think.
Yeah.
Very, very much so. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, and also going to be joined by Nitesh, but I tell you what, this guy could be late for his own funeral.
Apparently, he's backstage now, Daniel.
He's backstage now. Oh, he's finally done his hair and makeup.
He's got his shirt on. He's got a shirt on.
Right, let's add him in. Right, here we go. Let's add Nitesh in. He's better late than never. So.
Yeah. I cut short through the red tube video and directly went to the climax of it.
just fast forward to the end. That's it.
Yeah. So
it was more satisfying than being a Spurs fan.
Mate, anything's more satisfying than being a Spurs fan.
Get more of a climax, that's for sure.
Yeah. At least with RedTube, you know how to finish. Spurs don't even know how to finish. But yeah, listen, Nitesh, it's great to have you along as well. So yeah, guys, we're just going to be talking about Arteta and listen, let's kick things off. So how are you how your initial thoughts on Arteta? So give each of you in turn, give me your initial thoughts on Arteta, because he's starting to divide opinion. You know, there's some people that are not prepared to give him time, and then there are other people who are, you know, a little bit more sympathetic, shall we say. See, I'm one of those people that I think, listen, it's too early to calling for his, to be calling for his head. Listen, he's made some questionable decisions in the last two games. A lot of people would argue that his substitutions they've not been great. How are you guys feeling about Arteta, and do you see a progress? Because when he first come in, we saw signs of a progress. You know, we saw the team dictating a lot more games than we have been under Unai Emery. How are you guys feeling about Arteta? Nitesh, I'm going to come to you first.
I didn't want him, but if he's here now, there is no point in sacking him right now. And people who are saying that we should Arteta out or sack him right now, they don't understand more or less what Arsenal is about. Arsenal does not start performing. Arsenal is not like that hooker who starts performing every night. Arsenal is like that slow-paced girlfriend that needs her own sweet time, and she starts delivering after the first month probably. Something like that. You can use that as the best example. So if they think that Arsenal is going to start delivering every night from the start, they are wrong about it. And I don't agree that things have improved really much under Arteta. But then any manager needs a few seasons to at least get in. And this is Arsenal. The squad isn't that good. And rather than blaming the manager, the most of the blame should go on the squad because they're not good enough. No matter what the manager does, I think even Emery became the scapegoat of a poor squad who didn't have the nerves or the balls to actually perform and hold on to the leads when they were taking the leads. They used to take a lead, they used to throw it away. And the best thing that this team can do is actually throw away games. And it's not just about Arteta or Emery, it's been the same under Wenger as well. And so now they need to consider the fact that this squad isn't good enough. There is no point sacking another manager, spending around 10 million or 12 million on his sacking, or whatever be the amount. Like for Emery, I think it was 10 million plus. There is no point in sacking another manager. You need to give the person time. The main action will happen in the summer transfer window, and that is when there can be a differential change. And one more thing is the fans need to wake up from their fantasy and understand that we are not going to challenge for titles immediately. The first target is around the top four. Right now we have become a top six and a top six struggler. So from that top six struggle, we need to probably try to get into the top four. And the only competitions that we can possibly think about winning right now is the FA Cup or the Europa League. So we should be realistic about it and not say that Arteta isn't challenging for the league, because that isn't going to happen anytime soon. Not at least in the next 5 to 10 years. We are not going to become Premier League title contenders. And even if we
Yeah,
make it to the Champions League, we are going to embarrass ourselves there.
yeah. Sam, your initial thoughts on this situation?
Yeah, I mean, I am willing to give Arteta time. I've said this several times. You know, I don't think it's the right time now to get rid of him. I think he needs a chance to prove himself. I think he needs at least one, if not two, proper transfer windows, and that is summer transfer windows. I don't count the January one because it's really a bit it's really a bit unnecessary and stupid, the January transfer window. They're actually talking about scrapping it, which is something I believe they should do. You know, he needs some time to build the squad he wants to build, because I think the only way you can really judge a manager is to give him the chance to build the team he wants, and then judge him on that and see what he can do with that. So that means he's going to have to be backed by Sanelli and Edu and you know, the executive management team to get the players he wants. I don't think them getting the players they want through their connections is going to be the right way to go. It hasn't until now. It hasn't, you know, as we saw how that worked out. You know, when Wenger lost control. You know, we have to make sure the manager gets the players he wants to build the squad and the team he wants. So I'm willing to give Arteta, if he can stay in the job and if he can actually show some progress, which he has to be able to do. Let's face it. I mean, if we're going to continue to lose games and draw games, and we're sliding down the table, I don't care who's the manager. They're not going to give him time, because that's the way football works. But if he shows any kind of progression, a little bit of changing around, that we can actually see some kind of promise and a plan at least, then yeah, give him a chance. Give him a chance to build a team, and give him a couple of seasons at least to see what he can do. Because, you know, this for me, I want to give him Arteta. I want to give him time, because, you know, I think he's shown a lot of promise in the way he sort of talked about things and talks about his ideas and what he wants to do. So I'd like to give him that opportunity to do that. But that being said, he also has to do things in real life, in practice. You know, he has to actually show that there's. I always say, this is my favourite saying. You know, the proof is in the pudding. You know, you can talk the talk and say all what you want, as long as you want, all day long. But if you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, if you're not able to do the job you should be doing, then you got to start asking questions. And that's where I believe some people are already starting to ask questions, because let's face it, since Arteta's taken over, we haven't looked a lot better. We haven't. our last couple of games have been absolutely rubbish. He's had a lot of time now to implement the things he wants to implement. Yes, he still has the same players. Yes, they are a challenge. They're very poor, but he's had time to figure out how to improve them and how to at least figure out the best way of getting them to play together. That's something he should be able to do as a top manager that he's supposed to become. So he has to start being able to show that these guys, there's some way of getting these guys to play together. And for me, I believe, listen, these players, they're never going to be this squad of players. They're never going to be a top four, or maybe not even a. They're going to struggle for top six. Basically, this squad, they really are. They're never going to be top four at the moment. But we've got to show that we got to show that we want to try, and we've got to try our best to do it. And for me, a manager who's a top manager, he's going to figure out a way of doing that with this squad. He's going to figure out the best formation, the best starting lineup, for who to use where in which positions that works together tactically and what we call a cooperative level where the players cooperate the best way with their positions on the field, and get the best out of it with what you got. There are other managers who have managed to do that with quite poor squads and managed to get them to overperform. So it can be possible, but of course that we want to clear out. We want to improve the squad. That's what I'm saying. But I'm just saying he has to get the best out of what we have. I think he has to start showing. He has to start showing at least some direction, some plan somewhere. Because at the moment it's just really is. It's like another Emery. At the moment, there's no plan there. What is he doing? Substitutions are all over the place. He's playing players out of position. At the moment, it's just like, is he able to implement any kind of plan? And that's why I think people are already starting to ask questions. But for me, I'm willing to give him more time, and we need to see what happens.
Yeah, and see.
And I want to add one thing. One thing to that is that who is Arteta? Arteta is a nobody. He's not a great player. He wasn't a great player. He was a decent player. He's not even managed a single club. This is the first job that he has. It's just the fan base that has hyped him that he is the next Pep Guardiola because he was under Pep for 3 years. There is no proof that he is a very good special managerial candidate. Yes, he has done some good things which the players at Manchester City have credited him for. But an assistant manager is always an assistant manager. It does not mean that he will become a great manager. It can mean a lot of things. A lot of factors are also involved. Manchester City has a lot of funds to spend. The quality of players that they get is at a totally different level. There are so many factors. Now, giving someone, if a guy says that I have a lot of aspirations, I want to do big things, I want to win titles, that anyone can say. But at the end, if there are no results coming on the pitch, there is no point of just dreaming big, because that is all then a fantasy that is just a fantasy that will never be fulfilled. So saying that Arteta can do this, can do that, even Emery could have done things. Even he managed PSG. Even he won 3 consecutive UEFA Europa League titles. So there is no denying that even he had some caliber. But the thing is, what mainly matters is whether you can do it with this Arsenal team, with the factors that Arsenal puts you in, and what happens at Arsenal. Now, Arteta has some qualities. Even Per Mertesacker said that he was a great leader when he was a captain, and many other qualities. He does have those qualities. But does that make someone a great manager? That does not. There was Thierry Henry who went to Monaco and he tried his luck. After he did a Belgium stint, he got embarrassed. He literally embarrassed himself in Monaco. So that is one more thing. A great player can also fail as a manager. Gary Neville could not do the same thing. There are so many examples. And the thing is, now with Arteta, he was never a legendary player. He was an average player, a top 4 level player, and he came to Arsenal at a good time. So there is a sentimental value, and because of that, the fans have again started hyping him. They are like, Arteta is the best manager that we can probably have. No, I feel Ancelotti was a much better choice, but the club went for a cheaper option. The club went for a cheaper option with Unai Emery as well, a person who wouldn't probably ask Arsenal for a huge budget, and that is why again Arsenal has disappointed the fans by giving them the cheap way out.
Yep.
No, so the thing is, Nitesh, and you make some good points, right? And you also, Sam, make some good points. And listen, there are fans who hype him up. Listen, the way I look at it is that yes, he's an unknown quantity. Of course he is. Listen, you know, there was always an element of risk for him to come in and literally hit the ground running. But we also have to take into account, and this is where my argument will come into those people who actually are Arteta out. Now they've been Arteta out since he first joined the club on the basis that they didn't want him, which is not a good basis to start calling for a manager to be axed just because you personally didn't want him. The thing is, right, we can change managers till the cows come home. We can get rid of Arteta, we can get in an Ancelotti, we can get in a Mourinho, but the simple fact is, nothing's really going to change until this group of players is axed. And that's my issue with this whole Arteta's got to go, he's out of his depth. Listen, any top class manager coming into this situation would be out their depth, because this group of players is nowhere near good enough and nowhere near at the level that we as fans want to and expect Arsenal to be. Because the simple fact is, these players are clueless. Yeah, we've got some good players in amongst the crap, but if you're asking me, is it just the simple choice of changing the manager? Listen, Arteta's got some good ideas, but you need to have the tools to back up those ideas. And at the moment, he's trying to. The way I look at it, right, is that he's trying to implement his ideas with a group of players who are it's too late in the day to implement ideas because they're so set in their ways. They're so mistake. You know, they all each and every player has a massive mistake in them. Now I know a lot of people will say, well, listen, every player has a mistake in them somewhere along the line. But what I'm saying to you is that each and every one of these players has the ability to fuck up in a way that you sort of scratch your head and think, what the hell are you doing? So it's very difficult to implement your ideas. You know, I'm sure. You know, I'm sure that, like with Emery, he had similar ideas. You know, about changing the team. You know, I believe that Emery's downfall was not only the fact that he started off with a good system and then changed it without any cause for changing it.
Even the dog.
Even the dog wants Wenger out. Oh, sorry, Arteta out.
I think the dog wants Arteta out. Jesus Christ. But yeah, so that's where Emery's downfall was. Plus, his language barrier wasn't great. See, now with Arteta speaks well, which you know, yeah, I take your point that you've got to back up your talk. I agree. Listen, anyone can say, you know, Sam, you could go into a press conference and say, listen, I want to win titles. I've got this, and this idea. And, you know, if you can't back it up, then it means diddly squat. But
yeah,
I just think that Arteta's got to get his players in. And this is where I question a lot of these fans who are not prepared to give him a chance, because what do you do? What do you do? Do you keep changing the manager with this same squad? Because that's what I think. This is where I think the main issue comes with the board. as well, because they are getting in managers in the hope that somebody's going to spark this team into life. Because they don't want to spend the money, but yet they want to get the best out of the players we've got. And I think that's what their train of thought is, which is completely the wrong train of thought. It's all well and good getting a few additions in, like like a Pepe and bringing in the odd player here and there. And I think they seem to be under the illusion that managers can work miracles, and that's what I genuinely believe. That I think that they've probably heard Arteta speak, and they've probably thought, yeah, he sounds good. He sounds like he's got a plan. Let's get him in, but let's not give him the funds to do anything when he's in the job. But let's get him in because he talks well, and you sort of buy into what he says. I think rather than axing the manager straight away, in this case Arteta, we need to actually give him the funds, or the board needs to give him the funds, and we need to back him. Because listen, I take your point, Nitesh, about that there are a lot of fans that hype him up. Listen, I said right from the start when Arteta I said right from the start when Arteta took this job, I said he's got to have learned something from Pep. But being a manager and an assistant manager is two different things. Listen, I get that. I really do get that. But you can't not have learned anything from Pep. And listen, you've at Man City it was a different scenario because they had quality not just in the starting 11 but on the bench. So when you've got quality, it's easier to implement your ideas with quality. It's a lot harder to implement your ideas with shit players. With shit players, because it just doesn't work.
But I don't agree to the point that you said that Arteta didn't have the chance to change things and the board is forcing him into doing anything. He had a chance to sell Granit Xhaka off for 30 odd million. He said no. He had a chance to drop Mesut Ozil when he came to the club. He said no. And now he has seen the attitude of Ozil and has not played him in the 2 games. Apart from that, no one can blame the management or the hierarchy for the fact that when your team is playing a 4-2-3-1, you suddenly switch to a 4-3-3 and start Eddie Nketiah. No one can take the blame that you don't know your first team, what should be your proper first starting 11. You drop a player like Gabriel Martinelli to the bench. The board doesn't take responsibilities for all those things. It's the manager. You can't blame the board that the man can't make substitutions. And that is the point. All these things he didn't have to do at Manchester City. He didn't have to do all these things because he was an assistant manager. You don't do all these things when you're an assistant manager. Same thing goes with respect to the transfer window as well. No one will know unless you actually do it. Now, whether Arsenal is willing to take that risk at Arsenal, if the management is, that means they are just giving us the cheap option, the pacifier, that he's a former Arsenal player and a captain. So the fans will be happy with what he does. But they failed to see that the fan base didn't want him in. They didn't want him to be there because a lot of people knew that this guy has no experience, zero experience. So when you say whether we should take an Ancelotti or an Arteta, everyone would say obviously Ancelotti. So the board expected that the fans would be happy. They would give him more time. They wouldn't be like 2 games and 3 games after the restart and we want Arteta to be gone. They didn't expect this kind of reaction. They probably thought that we will give him till the end of the season and be happy with whatever shit he does. So this is the thing. They didn't expect that a hashtag would start trending that we need to free Martinelli from Arteta. We need to start Martinelli. They didn't expect all these things. But it has happened because Arteta has been very silly. His substitutions and his starting lineup has been crap. It was visible in the Olympiacos game as well, where we were lucky. We were lucky to beat Everton. We are lucky that we did not get hammered more than 3-0 against Manchester City. We are lucky that we didn't embarrass ourselves more against Brighton because they had a good set of chances and Leno made 9 saves again. So we are lucky in many ways that the results aren't as bad as they could have been. And the other thing is But the problem now is you can't keep sacking the managers. That is why I said that even if no matter what happens, we did not have any kind of expectations about finishing in the top four. Or probably we wanted a Europa League spot. That is what we were focused on, and we can still get it. But the thing is, there is no point sacking another manager because we have already wasted 10 million on sacking Emery when I think we should have given him more time. We wasted money on bringing in Lumberg for some time, which wasn't too much, but okay. Anyways, that didn't matter that much. But then we lost some points there as well. And now, with Arteta, we have gone again for the cheaper option. If Arsenal board says today that we are planning for the long term, why will you bring in a manager who has zero experience to manage a club like Arsenal, which is supposed to be a top club? And then you bring in a guy who has zero experience at managing any club anywhere in the world. Even a small club like Wolves, even a small club like Bournemouth, even a small club like Watford would not do such a silly thing to get in a guy who's a fresher and ask him and expect things of him and put the faith of the entire club in such a guy who has never before managed any club at any level, and then tell him to produce results in a situation where we are already struggling and falling towards the bottom half of the table. And then you will say that it is not his fault, and you will say it is the player's fault. But then why did the board even go and get a guy who has zero experience in anything? The only thing he can do is assist, and you give
Okay.
him a contract.
Yeah, let me come. Can I come back on that because you make some really good points, and I want to sort of come back on that. So your first point about he had the chance to sell Granit Xhaka and he had the chance to sell Mesut Ozil. Listen, any guy coming into a football club is going to give every player a clean slate. Every guy who's coming into a club. Listen, when that happened, he'd only been in the door a matter of weeks. You're not going to come into a club and not give players a chance. Even Guardiola done it at Man City. He come in and he gave every player a chance. Then he figured out that certain players were not good enough and binned them and axed them. So you're not gonna, a manager's not gonna come in and go, right, your surface to requirements, your service to requirements. He's gonna come in and give every player a clean slate. Now he's done that and seen players play. I think he's probably thought, and he probably knows who is shit. It's been reported who the players he wants to get rid of. Now I know reports are misleading. But hold on one second, Nitesh. Let me finish my point because, and the other thing is as well, right? With the January transfer window, it's all well and good getting rid of these players, but you're not going to get in those type of targets that people want. You're not going to get in those type of targets in January. It's just not possible. So what's better? That we get rid of those players and then don't have any options, or we stick with what we've got until the summer window, and then you can change it where you've got more chance of changing it. Because I'll tell you something now, if we'd have got rid of Granit Xhaka and Mesut Ozil in January and not replaced them, we would have been in a situation now. Listen, we're already seeing in the last two performances that, yes, we don't like Granit Xhaka. I personally don't think he's good enough for Arsenal, but we've already seen that without him, you see how our midfield is completely dead. Yes, he's not good enough for the Arsenal, but he offers a little bit of stability when he's playing. Not good enough, nowhere near good enough for what we want and what we expect. But you see, who have we got? You're seeing it now. The classic example that our midfield is dead, and yeah, putting Granit Xhaka in there, yeah, it would have made a slight difference because, yeah, listen, we haven't got the players without him. And your other point about what was you saying? Yeah, your other point about that Arteta come in and that is expecting to turn results around. See, the thing is, right? Arteta sets the tactics and Arteta makes the changes. Now, listen, I'm no way disagreeing that he has fucked up with his substitutions because, yeah, they are questionable. What he's done in the last 2 games are questionable. But highlighting the performance, and yes, it's Arteta's job to motivate these players. But listen, these players have to take some responsibility for when they're out on the pitch. It can't be laid at the manager's door. Listen, he's not out there. He all he can do is set tactics and shout at them from the sidelines and occasionally drop them. When when they're not performing well. But when you've got 9 players out of 11 not performing well, what do? And then you've got substitution. You've got a better substitute bench that also aren't good enough. What do? You can't magic performances and quality out of nowhere. So you've got to stick with what you've got. And at the moment, I think Arteta's going through the motions, and that's why he, with this 4-3-3 system, he's trying to play a system with the wrong players. But what do? Do you try and implement your system with the players you've got, or do you just fuck around with the system until you get the players you want? Because at the moment it seems like that Arteta's getting the blame for a lot of this, and rightly so, with the substitutions and maybe not starting Martinelli. Listen, that baffles me. But I think it's wrong to lay the entire blame at his door. And the third point you made about that the board got him in and went for the cheaper option. Listen, that's not Arteta's fault. If you're in Arteta's shoes, you would have took the Arsenal job as well, because it's a chance for your career. Listen, I would have done it. I would have took the Arsenal job. So that decision is a board decision, and that blame lies with the board, not with Arteta. Because listen, anybody in Arteta's position would have turned around and said, "You're not gonna. If Arsenal come calling, you're not gonna turn around and say no to that job, are you? Come on, let's be honest. Especially your first job, you're not going to turn around and say, sorry, I don't want that job, because they might not ever come calling again."
Not really. I would, if the man had any kind of sense for his first job, he would never come to Arsenal. It was a very stupid call on his part as well. It might be like career suicide for him if he can't produce the results.
No, I disagree. If Arsenal come calling, Nitesh, if Arsenal come calling and knocked on your door tomorrow and said, "Nitesh, we'd like you to replace Arteta as manager," you're going to take it. Come on, don't sit there and tell me that any manager who wants to do well for himself is not going to take the Arsenal job. Come on,
you
come
forget
on, seriously.
He's not a manager. He was an assistant manager.
Yeah. And
the problems at Arsenal are way more than any other club. You need to have the introspect kind of knowledge to understand that whether I am capable enough to solve this problem or not. I appreciate the confidence that he may have that I can solve the problem, but the thing is, he has zero experience as a manager, and he does not know half the things that he does. The only formation that he probably knows from his Manchester City days is the 4-4-3, 4-3-3, and that is what he's trying to implement now. And Madeh Fatia, I don't even bother to answer to fans who don't have the capacity to appreciate other people's opinion. So I think you need to shut up.
But see,
don't worry about idiots in the chat. Don't worry about idiots in the chat. There's always an idiot in the chat.
Why? Who's saying what?
There's just one guy in the chat who keeps telling Nitish to shut up. It's a great contribution, isn't it? Wow, really good. Good contribution.
But see, the thing is, right, Nitesh, I get your point that with the 4-3-3 formation, he's not trying. He hasn't got the players, but he's not got the players to do that. But listen, if Arsenal come calling, you're not going to turn that job down. I don't care what anybody says. If Arsenal come calling, you're not going to turn that job down. He was an assistant manager. He was an assistant manager again, to Pep Guardiola, and then that was a comfortable job, right? A comfortable job in the sense that yeah, you can learn stuff, and yeah, it's totally different when you go out and do it for yourself. So he was never ever going to turn the job down when he was offered it. Listen, I know he was offered it before Unai Emery, but it was Arsenal that didn't give it to him then. And even he come out and said that the extra years experience, he that helped him. But yeah, listen, he's got to prove it. He has to prove it. But listen, I just think a board decision. Arteta shouldn't be blamed for that decision, because yes, he could have said no, but when you've been offered a job like that, come on, you're not going to turn that down. There's no way you're going to turn that down, because you might never be offered that position again. And it's the same. It's similar with a player.
Yeah.
No, because we're all Arsenal fans, right? We're not looking at it from a professional point of view. You're never ever, if you've been offered the Arsenal job, you're never going to turn it down. You're never going to turn it down. And if you were shying away from that sort of challenge, then what does that say about you as a manager when things get tough? I actually think, right, that Arteta's took a massive risk, because look at the state of Arsenal. Yeah, but look at the state of Arsenal, right? Look at the state of Arsenal, right? He actually took a gamble, and yes, we're still, we don't know whether that gamble's going to pay off yet or not. Yes, and it's too early to tell. Listen, the early signs are not great at the moment, with certain things that he's done. But he took a massive risk on taking this job, because listen, if it fails, whether it be down to him or whether it be down to the board not backing him, then that's going to be a massive, massive blot on his CV.
He's taking a huge chance. He's taking a huge chance.
The next David Moyes.
He's taking a huge chance. I mean, that's what Arteta's done. He could become the next David Moyes. Well, David Moyes had a successful career at Everton before he took over the Manchester United job. He did very well at Everton.
I mean, with respect to what happened to Moyes after his United stint, in that sense.
Yeah, but what happened? Then Moyes went to United, and he was in the deep end, wasn't he? He showed he wasn't at that level, and that's what we're. I'm not saying that's necessarily going to happen to Arteta. Listen, I've already said several times, and I'm going to say it again. I want Arteta to stay. I want him to prove himself. I want to give him a chance. I want him to have at least a couple of seasons to implement some changes in the team, the changes that are needed. So I just want it to be, absolutely clear that I do not want Arteta out. But that doesn't mean he's free of criticism. This is the one thing that pisses me off so much, is we're in a world now that's so polarized politically, personally, in every sense of everything, that just because you criticize something doesn't mean you're against it. It is possible to have constructive criticism of someone or something without saying you hate it or you want to get rid of it.
This is what I'm saying to you, Sam.
We have to live in a world where we are able to criticize things, and that's what I'm doing with Arteta. Because at the moment, for me, yes, he has said so many good things. I think everybody can agree that what he's been saying and the signals he gives verbally and everything, he has a lot of good ideas. We all agree and we want to back him on what he's saying. He seems to be a good leader, at least on the face of it, in terms of what he says. But what he's actually doing in practice is very different. He's not doing or leading the way he should be, I feel, as a manager on the pitch. There's some tactical decisions that are incorrect. Like everyone says, his substitutions are completely beyond understanding. And he makes a lot of weird decisions. He plays players out of position. Yeah. He doesn't play the best players in each position. There's a lot there that, for me, the whole difference here is, I think if you had a season, just to put it simple, in a simple way of explaining it, if you brought in a seasoned manager, someone who has a lot of experience under their belt, someone who's built up teams before and successfully built up teams before, if you brought in someone like that, I don't think we would necessarily see the same problems so early on. That's what I'm saying. Not that he'll be able to win anything with this team, because the whole team, or most of the team, still needs changing. But I think if you brought in a seasoned manager, they would be able to choose the correct first 11 and probably find some tactics that at least work better than what we're seeing now. Not that we're all of a sudden going to turn into a Liverpool or Manchester City or anything like that. No way. But maybe we would be closer to the likes of, like the likes of Chelsea, Wolves, them guys. We'd be maybe a bit closer to them in terms of our performance. That's what I'm saying.
One more thing I just want to add. I said at the start of the video that, and yesterday as well, that anyone who wants Arteta sacked is probably deluded, because it's not the right way to go. But the thing then is, I was talking about the facts that to people who are like defending Arteta and saying that he's the next Pep Guardiola in the making. So those points that I was making was with respect to those, that he is not a great person in terms of managerial experience and managerial knowledge, and that is why he's struggling and making these silly errors and these mistakes that we can see, like the one with Martinelli where he has not started him in 2 games, which was like both those games Martinelli deserved to start them, and he is playing Nketiah ahead of Martinelli. He's favoring Nketiah, who's not even proven himself yet at Arsenal, to play ahead of Martinelli. He's dropped Lacazette to the bench in a game against Manchester City where we needed experienced players. And the main thing is, he's changed that formation from a 4-2-3-1 to a 4-3-3, which, if you wanted to do it, you could probably do it in preseason next year. He didn't apply it even in the friendlies, and he suddenly made these changes. Then, with respect to the substitution, he got Maitland-Niles in, I think, in the Manchester City game, on when he had Martinelli and Pepe on the bench. So some of these substitutions, the formation, the changes, the lineup, all these do not go into the court of the board. It is all Arteta's calls. It is all Arteta's decisions. He does not have great quality players, but we should still be beating a second-rate team like Brighton.
Yeah, no, listen, I agree with you. I agree with you. Like, question him on those decisions, because I've questioned him on those decisions. I have said the fact that he's leaving out Martinelli is baffling. But what I'm saying to you is, and what I'm saying to everybody out there, is criticizing him for stuff that's his judgment and his mistakes. Don't criticize him. Don't criticize him and say, the board went for the cheaper option. Don't criticize him for that, because that's not his fault. That's not his fault that the board went for the cheaper option. There are fans out there, and I've seen lots and lots and lots of them, that are going, oh, well, Arteta's not good, based on the fact that the board picked the wrong decision for them. And that's where I'm saying, it's like, Sam made a good point. Criticize him constructively, and I think slagging him off because the board picked the wrong decision is not constructive criticism, because that's not his fault.
But Sam also made one point that a seasoned manager wouldn't be making these silly kind of errors. He would probably by now know his starting 11 and all these things. So that also comes into the picture, that because the board has gone for an inexperienced, cheaper option, that is why those things are also into consideration, and people have a right to say that. Because if it was a guy like Ancelotti has dropped some of the players, including Theo Walcott, from his squad, and he doesn't necessarily pick them. So even an Ancelotti coming to Arsenal would have probably thrown out Xhaka. He would have sold Xhaka, gotten a guy from Serie A, and probably also gotten rid of Mesut Ozil completely. So there are other managers who can
do that. Arteta might do that.
But now the opportunity is gone. But now the opportunity has gone. Granit Xhaka
No, it hasn't, Nitesh. Come on, man. We're in the opportunity. You're basing that whole argument on a January transfer window when he just joined the club.
No, I'm basing it on the fact that
come back to me with that argument after a summer transfer window, when it's more likely for those things to happen. Don't judge it after a transfer window.
It's very difficult to get rid of players in a January transfer window. It's very hard in mid-season.
What I'm trying to say is, we will never again get a 35 million offer or 30 million offer for Granit Xhaka. Never again. That is what I'm saying. We should have taken it at that point of time. Even if we didn't sign another player in January, it would have been better to play an academy graduate than to play Granit Xhaka. Even though he has improved, there is no denying that.
Okay,
But we should have taken that offer. It was like an Iwobi offer. When we
all
got
right,
40 million for Iwobi, we just took it with all hands, all
yeah,
guns blazing, and
okay.
we just went with that. Yeah.
All right, the point I want to make to that, Nitesh, we've seen Granit Xhaka out the team. We've seen. I'm not saying which way saying he's perfect or he's good enough for what we want, but you've seen with Granit Xhaka out the team. Look how dead our midfield is. So you're saying sell him even if we don't get a replacement? Come on, like that's ridiculous. That's stupid because you've
No,
seen
we could
firsthand.
have played David Luiz.
No, we couldn't.
We could have played him as CDM. We can play David Luiz. We have options. Chambers
But he's
is
not going to do that. He's not going to do that. I suggested that the other week, and everyone thought I was barking mad for suggesting that.
Why
it's not-
is it barking mad? David Luiz played a game in, I think, the FA Cup. He looked good in CDM. The only problem was he got injured in that game and had to go off. So he can play there. Chambers was Fulham's best player of the season last year, playing
I
at
think it's more
CDM.
natural. I think it's more natural for Chambers to have that role, to be honest.
Exactly. So
yeah.
why are we so over dependent on a guy like Xhaka?
Because
who
Chambers is injured, and he was
at the moment.
And he was injured. And he was injured in the January transfer window. He was injured then. He's been injured for a long time. So what you're going to do? You're going to get rid of Granit Xhaka, not buy anybody in, and in the hope that you can play an injured player there when he's out. I just think that decision is ludicrous. Yeah, you would get 35 million, but what can you do with that money? You're not going to get anybody in.
No, we could have used.
Listen. We have Torreira that should be the ball-winning midfielder. He's supposed to be a ball-winning midfielder. Yeah. He's the guy we should have lying deep, protecting the defense and winning balls, clearing up, in midfield. He should have that role. Xhaka's not defensive like that. He's supposed to be a deep-lying playmaker who's supposed to be working well in transition. But Xhaka is too slow. He's too slow. He uses too many touches. He's too inaccurate most of the time. Xhaka, we see every time we see Xhaka play, we see that that sometimes he pulls off a good pass, but most of the time he doesn't. He just does the easiest pass, and our attack stops up completely. There's no.
I agree with
there's no speed. There's no speed. There's no urgency. There's no. We're so ineffective in attack, especially in counter attack. As soon as Xhaka gets the ball, it's like, oh, that's the end of that counter attack, because now we're going to slow for another 10 seconds.
No, I agree with you.
And that's why he shouldn't even be in the team. So we've got to try.
Yeah, I agree with you, but
try and use other solutions instead of him to try and get the ball moving forward.
I agree with you, but selling him in January.
No, that wouldn't have happened. That wouldn't have happened because
that's what I'm saying. But Nitesh's point is that
Nitesh wanted to. And I agree. I also wanted to get Xhaka out, but it's unrealistic to happen in January. I hope it happens now this summer, but I don't know because Arteta seems to like Xhaka. I think Arteta likes Xhaka, and that is for me another reason why Xhaka should be criticised, because I don't think Xhaka is the type of player we need. He's not at the quality level we need to bring this club forward. And that is.
No, I agree. I agree.
And that is something you can criticise Arteta for if he keeps it.
I agree. Listen, I agree. And if he doesn't get rid of Xhaka in the summer transfer window and get rid of some of these players, I'd say exactly the same, because listen, he'll have had a chance then. But I just think judging him on that basis that he didn't go in January is a little bit premature, because like I say, January window is a shit window. It's you can't do nothing in January.
We got Aubameyang, we got Lacazette, we got other players.
Yeah, it's a lot more. It's not impossible. It's not impossible. Yeah. It's very difficult to get players, especially good players, in the January window, because they're not going to go mid-season. Especially if they're still in a big tournament.
Firstly, Nitesh,
and one more thing.
Firstly, Nitesh, right? Firstly, we got Lacazette in the summer. We didn't get him in January. Secondly, we got Secondly, we got Aubameyang due to circumstances because he wanted out of Dortmund.
Because we sold our striker Sanchez. We sold our winger. Yeah.
But Aubameyang wanted to come. Aubameyang wanted to come in Dortmund, out of Dortmund. He wanted out of Dortmund, and Arsenal were the only club that were in for him at that
So
time.
So are you saying that out of so many defensive midfielders across the globe, we couldn't possibly sign one if we wanted to? With that 35 million odd cap plus some funds coming in from the club, we definitely could. And the next
Yeah, we
thing is,
could have, but if it's not
yeah,
gonna, if the defensive midfielder, you can't just go out there and buy a defensive midfielder for the sake of buying one. It's got to fit in to the manager's system and manager's plan. So therefore, it's not. Do you see what I'm saying? You can't just go out and anyone can go out and buy a defensive midfielder, but if he's not right for
yeah.
your club and not right for the way you want to play, then you've just wasted a whole load of money.
No, but with the
Yeah.
new manager coming in, obviously he hadn't fit into the system at that point of time. Arteta was just understanding the things. If he went out and got in a new defensive manager who was his liking, he could have molded him at that point of time. Probably taken a season as well to get used to the pace of the Premier League and stuff, and then eventually start performing. One more thing I'll say. One more thing. When you have Torreira, who's supposed to be your first choice, you have Guendouzi, you have Willock also who can contribute there, and you have players like Ceballos who can also be played in that holding midfield role, and you don't really want Xhaka to be playing. Why will you keep him? You know that he's not going to be a long term solution. The next thing is, every Arsenal fan knows that Xhaka is not good enough for the club. Whether they accept it or not, that is a different thing. The second thing is, if Arteta wanted the Arsenal job, he should have done his research well on Ozil. He should have done his research well on Xhaka. He should have done his research well on Mustafi and some of the other players. He should be doing that research before he's taking the Arsenal job up. You're saying no manager would say no to an Arsenal job, but this guy hasn't done his own research, pre-research
We
before
don't
coming
know
to
that.
Arsenal.
We don't know
He's not
whether
done
he
it.
has or he hasn't.
He hasn't.
Nitesh, come on. Nitesh, you're not going to fix all this whole fucking team in one transfer window.
I'm
Come
not saying
on,
that.
just wake up and realize that you're expecting an instant fix when
No, I'm not
you're not
expecting
going to
that.
do
But I'm
that.
not
There's
expecting a
so many
deluded fix.
players. There's so many players that need replacing. You're not going to. Arteta's not going to come in and go, right, this player was out, this player's out, this player's out. It takes time, and he hasn't had time. He's had one window and a pandemic,
No, that's where he doesn't have the
and
guts.
he's not even had a summer window. You can't do wholesale changes in January. I'm sorry, you can't. You
Before the
just can't.
pandemic.
He might know that these players are weak, but for one, he's not going to come out and publicise that, because that would just be the stupid thing to do. Was he going to take the job at Arsenal and then come out and say, sorry, you're shit, you're shit, you're shit? No manager does that anyway, publicises a player's,
It's not
qualities
publicizing.
like that.
He
No
has been
one's going to
favoring.
do that.
He has
But
been
he's
favoring
not.
his former teammates. All the first half before the pandemic, he has only been favoring his former teammates.
But what other options has he got? What other options has he got? He hasn't
He
got
has
any
more
other options. No, he hasn't. He
Well,
hasn't
the
got
whole
any
point, the
other
whole
options.
point, the whole point is you've got to buy players for options.
Yeah, he
You've
hasn't
got to buy
got.
players. If you're gonna get rid of Xhaka, you have to buy in someone who's better. That is the way it has to work.
Yeah, and the next thing is, Daniel will be happy with the fact that Ozil isn't in the squad, but he's saying that Xhaka should be in the squad. That is hypocrisy.
No, it's not, because I'm not basing the fact that I hate Xhaka on a decision. So you're saying you're slagging off Arteta, saying that he should have got rid of Xhaka when he had the chance. You're basing that on your personal dislike for Xhaka. Listen,
No,
I hate
he's not
Xhaka.
good
I
enough
don't
for
think
Arsenal.
Xhaka's good. Yeah, he's not good enough. But I'm
Yeah.
thinking realistically about the situation and about the circumstances surrounding that situation. Like, I agree with you. Like, let's have this discussion about Xhaka at the end of the summer transfer window, if he's still here, and I'll probably agree with you, because then he would have had a chance to get rid of him. But at the moment, you're basing it on a window where he's only just joined the club. Sam's got a point. You can't get rid of a player if you've not got a player to come in and replace him. We have seen Xhaka being out injured. We've seen Torreira out injured. And look how it's left our midfield. And you're saying go and sell those players just to get the money. That's going to weaken our squad. No manager, whether the players are good enough for Arsenal or not, is going to weaken themselves just to get money when they're not going to have when they're not able to bring in options to replace those players. No manager does that. I'm sorry. Not even Arteta. Not even an experienced manager is going to get rid of players without having options to bring in as a replacement.
It's true. You've got to have someone come in who's better to replace them. That's what you've got to do.
And
that's something we should have done. There's so many players who are now good defensive midfielders who we could have bought the last few years that we haven't. And it's a position we keep neglecting. Yeah, we went for Torreira based on the World Cup.
And that's not fair.
About 4'11" high, too small. He's too small for the Premier League. He doesn't suit the Premier League. We need to move on, and we need to bring in a proper, strong, big player. Whether that's a Decore or a Partey or one of these guys. There's a whole load of them out there that can be bought who are going to do a hell of a lot better job than Xhaka or Torreira in our midfield. And that's what we've got to do. We've got to buy one of these guys, and then we get rid of Xhaka, sell him. And Torreira, sell him as well. Torreira wants to go anyway. He wants to go to warmer climates. He doesn't like England. He doesn't like the Premier League. So we should sell him as well. And that money we get for these two guys, for those two guys, we could spend that money on definitely Partey's release clause. We could probably maybe even get someone who costs a bit more as well, maybe.
And in respect, I just want to answer your final point that you made, which I never addressed. You're saying that the board went for the cheaper option. Yeah, they did. They did. And listen, spending vast amounts of money is not always going to bring you success. We're possibly seeing that with Pepe. The jury's still out on him. And then on the flip side of that, we only spent 6 million on Martinelli, and look how he's turned out. So the price tag doesn't really
it's recruiting.
No, but in terms of managers, it does. It does. In terms of managers, it does. You are saying that Jose Mourinho and Mikel Arteta are the same. You are saying that an Ancelotti and Mikel Arteta are the same. Not at all. It matters in terms of managers. And it's not about the money or the contract that we offer, but it's about the experience. And they have gone for the cheaper option because that is what Arsenal keeps doing in every department.
Okay, I just got to address this Mehdi Fatia wanker in the fucking comments. Honestly, have you got a brain in your head, or what the fuck is going on with you? Paul Scholes, Torreira is much smaller than Paul Scholes, for fuck's sake. I mean, Jesus Christ. Do you even watch football? What do you do? Some people, honestly, just talk shit, and it's just absolute rubbish. Paul Scholes, the size of Torreira. Paul Scholes is much bigger than Torreira. Jesus Christ. Comparing Torreira to Scholes. Fucking hell.
Yeah. Do subscribe to the channel if you are new, and do fire up them likes. Big up everybody in the chat. Big up Kevin. Big
are
up
any
Mr.
Are there any mods in the chat?
Sorry?
Are there any mods in the chat? Because I can't see who's mods or not.
Yeah, I think there are. But anyways, now the fact is that I don't have any problem with his opinion as long as he's not being disrespectful to anyone. That is fine. He's talking crap, but that is a different thing. That is his opinion, so he can talk all he wants.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, big up
to
everybody in the chat.
Yeah, there's loads of people taking part in the chat. Yeah. Steve, the Arsenal Misfits, said a lot of good points. Chadwick Moffey's basically going off against Guendouzi as always. It's like Guendouzi's fucked his sister or something, I don't know. But he hates Guendouzi, that's for sure. Taib, the Poon Meister, big up Bertrand. Yeah, there's some other guys in the chat. Bertrand, the Revenite, as usual, nice to see you guys. John Kevin's in the chat, big up Kevin. We've got John and Omer from Facebook. Good to see you, friends. He says, to me, the losses were Arteta's fault, most especially Man City game. The Steve's been saying they can take short-term pain and have a bad season if we get good money for mediocre players that we can spend later on better players and turning it down and getting a lesser player. Mr. Bungle in the house, good to see you, my friend. We got Grant.
Do subscribe to the channel if you're new on Facebook.
I think the new guy is this guy called Class C. He's some new guy. And
we have to keep an eye on him. Kevin Marks was saying, Xhaka, his fans can reduce their expectation. I want what is best for Arsenal. These players failed under 3 managers, and now they're failing under Arteta. We had the chance to get rid, and we didn't. Revenite, 4 months of pain for selling Xhaka to repair long term. You get 10 million for Xhaka now. Yeah, the longer we keep him, the worse it gets.
But I'd rather take 10 million.
Nah, I wouldn't. I'll tell you the reason why. Today, there are stories coming out that Arsenal does not have enough money to pay for the party deal. Where would have we gotten the money to pay for the party deal if we sold Xhaka in January? Simple.
Let me tell you, right? Every summer, there's stories coming out how Arsenal have got no money. Every fucking summer, and has anybody stopped to realise that yes, in the past that we have no money, but has anyone stopped to realise that these clickbait journalists are just going to put out the same shit? They said the same last year, and we spent 72 million on Pepe. Now I don't care about the fact that it's structured. We still spent that money. We've still got to outlay that money. So no, I'm not buying all this. Arsenal have no money. We have money. Let's not have it right. We have fucking money to spend. Whether the board spend it is a different matter. But all this people believing that Arsenal have no money is a load of bollocks because we have money.
Well, every football deal structured. Every football deal is structured. There's no team that goes out and pays 70 or 80 million in one payment. There's no team that does that. Yeah. You know, it's all structured in different ways. So, and also you have to account for that 70 million. You know, you are going to end up paying that 70 million. So you have to, you have to account for that. Even if you sell Pepe, even if we say we sell him for 50 million, that 50 million has to go. That 50 million has to go to paying what we spent on him. You know, so you end up paying what you end up paying at the end of the day. It's just it's like a loan. It's like a car loan. You got to. You get a 5-year car loan. You can end up paying it one way or the other, whether you pay it per month or you sell your car and pay off the rest of the loan. You're gonna have to end up paying. You have to account for it in your accounts that the cost of that car.
Yeah. No, what I'm trying to say is, if we had sold a player like Xhaka, we probably wouldn't have to negotiate for that 1 or 2 million or 4 to 5 million that we try to save in every deal. We wouldn't probably have to do that. And the next thing is, that is where we lost N'Golo Kante and got Xhaka in the first place. So such deals, that is why our deals for the bigger players break down, because we don't tend to sell our useless players at the right time when we get good offers. If
January was never the right time to sell Granit Xhaka.
It is the right time when you get an offer like that.
No, it's never the right. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. No, I disagree. I disagree with you. Now,
you guys just disagree. That's it. Move on. Just disagree.
I disagree. I disagree with you, and I've given you my reasons why. I've given you my reasons why I disagree.
Just move on from the Xhaka point. Let's move on from that. There's no.
What I'm saying is, if that is the case, then selling Iwobi was also the wrong time. We should have never sold Iwobi at that point of time when we already
different
lost.
Scenario, different circumstances, and different scenario. Yes, it is. You can't bring that. Yes, it is. Different scenario, because it was in a transfer window. It was in the summer, and we'd already
had backup players.
Yeah, and we'd brought in Pepe and we had Martinelli. So different scenario. Can't compare the two.
Martinelli is actually a striker.
But he plays out wing. He can play out wing.
We played him there because we got rid of Iwobi. The next thing is, Iwobi had a good African Cup of Nations.
Come on.
He had a good African Cup of Nations. We had a good African Cup of Nations. We had already sold our creative midfielder, which was Aaron Ramsey. We let him go because we got a good deal for him.
Iwobi wasn't worth keeping. Iwobi, look at him at Everton. He's useless at Everton.
We sold him at that point of time. Because when the board heard, probably the recruitment heard that we are getting an offer of 40 million for this guy, they didn't
sold him.
Exactly. So the same thing goes when we heard that we are getting 30 to 35 million for Xhaka, we should have just let him go.
Yeah,
We will-
we should definitely let it. Yeah, I agree. We should definitely have sold him, but we should have made sure in the same
We got
window we would have
Yes.
brought in someone who was better. That's what we
Yes.
should have done if we did that.
Yes, exactly. I agree with that.
Okay,
we
then
could
let me
have-
ask you one question, Nitesh.
Yeah.
Say we sold Granit Xhaka in
Yeah.
January.
Yes.
At the time, and I'm not asking you, I'm asking you this now. At the time, who could we have realistically got in who's better him at the time?
We could have probably tried to push the Thomas Partey deal in January itself. We could have.
No, come on, seriously.
Even Unai
Thomas
Emery wanted Thomas Partey at one point of time.
Jesus Christ, Nitesh, come on, seriously. Thomas
There's loads
Partey
of
is not
players.
going to. Hold on
Listen,
one second. Thomas Partey is not going to leave Atletico in mid-season
Why not?
Why not? There is no
because
guarantee.
they're in a better position. They're in the.
No, they're not.
No player like that is going to leave.
They're in the Champions League. They're in the Champions League, but they're what, the 6th or 7th in the La Liga.
But what I'm saying to you is, no player like that is going to leave in mid-season.
Can
In
I
the
say one
summer,
thing?
in the summer, yes, in the summer, all day long. But in mid-season, no player like that is going to leave.
Can I say one thing? Thomas Partey has clearly shown that he wants to get out of Atletico Madrid the same way that Aubameyang showed that I want to get out of Dortmund. He's also trying to move. He's trying to change his club. He wants to get away from Spain. He wants to come to the Premier League. That is the exact same situation that Aubameyang was in. And if we would have probably had the money and made an offer, he could have come. No one knows.
But at the time, we weren't linked with him. At the time, we weren't linked with him.
No, there was a story that even Unai Emery wanted him and was considering him at one point of
Yeah,
time.
but
I think Partey's been on our radar for a long time, to be honest.
Yeah. He's been on our radar, but in January, at the time, we weren't linked with him. We were linked with him. We were linked with him last summer. Under Unai Emery, but those. We were never linked with him in January.
Daniel, it's possible to buy players in January. It's more difficult.
Yes.
It's more difficult, but it's possible. Normally,
I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm not saying it's not possible.
Normally, what you have to do in January is you have to pay a lot more money because you have to make an offer that makes the club say yes.
And that's the thing. Arsenal aren't going to do that in January.
Well, no, most likely.
And listen, I'm not saying that's. I'm not saying that's they could have. I'm not saying that's the wrong thing to. I'm not saying that's the right thing to do the way they're doing it. Listen, I'd love nothing more than to see these players come in January, but the way Arsenal work is that they don't get these deals until the summer because the prices will go down. His price in January would have been about 100 million. His price now.
And Partey has a release clause of 43 million.
Yeah, it can't be 100 million. It is 43 million as it is.
It has a release clause of 43 million.
But Atletico can demand a lot more in January.
No, they can't.
No, they
release
can't.
clause.
Release clause is a release clause. They can't demand any more money.
Daniel, we have many players that we can consider, but we should have that money in hand. And how would we have that money in hand when we sold the trash? We got rid of the trash. That is how we would have.
Let me tell you something as well. We wouldn't have needed to sell Xhaka because we had that 40 million from Iwobi. So we already had that money in the bank, and we've still got that sat in the bank.
Spend that 40 million on Partey.
Take Xhaka out the equation. We had that money. We had the 40 million. Yes, we did. We had
the
40
money went
million.
into the Saliba deal. The money went into the.
No, it didn't because we signed Saliba before we'd already signed Saliba before that deal happened.
When you're buying a player, you sell a player to compensate. That is what the IOB deal was. You are selling your player because
disagree.
You got Pepe, so you need to get money in by selling some of the players. That is where we got a great offer for IOB, and that is where they decided to sell. When you have spent so much on a defender, when you spent so much on another winger, you need to compensate by selling one of the players. And they luckily
at the time we signed those players, there's no offers for Iwobi. There was no offers for Iwobi.
There must have been obviously talks. Everton is not so stupid that they will wake up one day, find in the morning.
But there must be talks on going with Partey. We could probably get him in the summer.
But you can see Arsenal. The thing is, Arsenal. You look at our recruiting. We've not bought a defensive midfielder apart from Torreira. We've not bought one. You know, he's
I
the only
agree
one
with
we've
you,
bought
Sam. Our
for a long,
recruiting
long
is
time.
awful. I agree with you. Our
You know,
recruiting is
it's
shit.
to do with them. It's to do with them who they decide to bring in. They've looked at other players in different areas of the pitch instead of looking where they should be in the centre of midfield. You know, and the centre of defence. Apart from Saliba, they brought in Saliba, which is a talent. You know, we don't really know what he's going to bring to the table yet. But you know,
Can I just say one thing, Mehdi? I think your thinking capacity is a bit down because today it's raining. So I remind you of Thai, so probably that helps.
No, I agree. I agree with you that our recruitment has been poor. It's been atrocious. You know, we've shopped in Poundland when we should have shopped in Harrods.
Can I just address this? Can I just address this Sandkalp in the comments? He's obviously an Arteta fanboy, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But listen, stats. You can make anything look good with stats, bro. You can make fucking anyone.
Hey, listen, Özil looks good with stats, and he's shit.
You can use certain stats to make Özil look good. We all see what he's like. It was stats that made us bought Mustafi. Mustafi had good stats. We all see what Mustafi is. I mean, stats are stats. The thing is, you got to see. You got to look at it with your eyes. What's going on? How the team plays. What team gets chosen. What happens? And Arteta. Listen, I'm not saying Arteta out. I'm going to say this so many times. I'm not saying Arteta out. I want to give him time. But so far, Arteta has not shown that he's going to be the next Messiah. Okay.
No,
He's made many mistakes. He's doing a lot of weird things that are very questionable. Maybe he's got some kind of weird plan. We don't know. But the thing is, at the moment, there's no clear plan. He doesn't know what formation he's playing. He's playing players out of position. He's making incorrect player selections. At the moment, it's just not looking like there's any real stability there, any real idea, any real progress whatsoever. You know, and yes, we can blame the players, but for me, it's too easy to blame the players. Yes, they are complicit in it. Yes, they have a lot to answer for their level of ambition and their level of mentality and their efforts in the games. But the manager's job is to get hold of that and do something about it. You've got to do something about it. You know,
I would like to add one thing.
You've got to leave the players who are toxic or you think are not doing anything. You've got to leave them out. You've got to bring in other players and play them as long as they're playing in their right position. I don't care. Listen, if we use most of our youth team against Southampton, I wouldn't mind that because at least we know that there's players who give 100%. As long as those players are playing in the right position, I wouldn't mind that.
And one more thing. I would like to add to Sam's point, the 2 games that we would have lost with Xhaka in the team if he played 90 minutes, he was injured. These 2 games. So that is about that. The stat doesn't matter. Would we have won the game against Manchester City if Xhaka played 90 minutes? Not a chance. We would have been probably losing final.
No, we still would have lose. Yeah, we would lose.
Yeah.
But blaming one player. And I'm not sure. I'm not defending Xhaka because I don't like the guy. But I'm just saying that your hatred for Xhaka can't. You've got to be realistic. You can't just because you hate a player. And listen. I dislike Xhaka, but at the end of the day, we haven't got any better options. We haven't got any better options.
But he's not good for our team.
He's not good, but we haven't got any better options. What have we got? Because you're telling me Guendouzi. You're telling me Guendouzi's better than Xhaka. Guendouzi's not better than Xhaka.
Any player can give us more than what Xhaka can give us because he doesn't have the work rate. He doesn't have the speed.
But see
he doesn't have a lot of quality.
See, do you know how childish your argument sounds when you say any better player can give? That's not really a substance for a good argument. What I'm saying to you, I could say any player's better than Özil.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. Right now they are.
But the reality is that we haven't got any better options, which is the harsh reality. We haven't got any better options.
Also the harsh reality is that I would probably give a youngster the chance. If we have to lose a game, I would rather lose it with the youngster than with the Granit Xhaka, so that that youngster probably can develop and grow into a better player. That is exactly why the reason maybe Arteta is also using Eddie Nketiah as,
Yeah,
in that 4-3-3,
and then
because
you would get all these then you would get half of this fan base saying, "Oh, well, you left out Xhaka. You're not playing your most experienced blooming
come
midfield.
on,
Oh my
that
God, you're
fan base,
playing youngsters." Do you know what? Some of this fan base is a fucking joke. Some of this fan base is
exactly.
more hysterical than the actual team.
See
You
the
know?
comment. See the comment by Arsenal fan Patrick Timmins. He's saying that Arsenal hasn't lost a game with Xhaka in the playing 11 where he's played 90 minutes. But come on, seriously, how? What kind of stat is that even? If Xhaka was playing against Manchester City, he's saying that we would have beaten Manchester City. Is that a deluded guy or what?
No, listen, Sanka. Listen, I just want to say, I just want to apologise to Sanka. Listen, I wasn't really going on a rant. I was just making a point about Arteta. Yeah, I can see you meant Jack. I was thinking about your previous comments about Arteta when you was saying that we've gone unbeaten without Arteta. I got most points with Arteta or something like that. Yeah, and I saw you're the whole thing about Xhaka. But listen, what we're saying is Xhaka he's not good enough for this team because I don't know what games you're watching, Sanko. Listen, I respect you, dude. You're a
No,
good
he
guy.
knows that. He knows
You make many good comments. You really do. But when I watch Xhaka, I just see every time he gets the ball, the team stops. We go backwards with him. He passes backwards. He doesn't pass forwards. Yeah, sometimes he passes forwards, but mostly in the wrong direction. He's just too slow. He's out of position a lot. He fouls all the time. I mean, he was always giving away free kicks that in dangerous positions. It's the guy is not good enough for Arsenal. He really isn't. We need to be looking at better players than Xhaka. He's just not good enough. And so many players say the same. So many fans say the same thing. It's a huge majority that don't like Xhaka. The people who like him and want him to play are a small minority, and of course everyone's entitled to their opinion. Of course they are. But for me, Xhaka and for a lot of people, Xhaka is just not good enough. Our play is not good with him in the team. We stop. It's slow. Yeah. There's no urgency. There's no speed. The counter attack just stops every time he gets the ball. He might have a good long ball here and there, and he has a good diagonal pass here and there, but then he'll lose a few balls and he's out of position. He fouls someone, when he doesn't need to foul them, and there's so many other things he does that are just so poor.
The mandatory yellow card every game that he gets.
Always, and it's always in a dangerous position as well. Like just outside the 18-yard box.
And I would like to add two things. Watch the games against Everton, Olympiacos, which we have won. Xhaka was there, and see the kind of play Arsenal had. We were so lucky to win those games, and if probably things would have been like 1 or 2% here or there, we could have probably drawn them or lost them. The first leg of the Olympiacos game and the Everton 3-2 win. So we got lucky. We were not the better team. We got lucky. You need to see that. And the thing is now, with respect to Xhaka again, if Arteta comes out and says in his first press conference, I am Mikel Arteta, I am here to plan for the future of Arsenal. I want to work for the future of Arsenal. Are Xhaka, Ozil, Mustafi, these guys the future of Arsenal? If you say yes, then that's your opinion. I say no.
Yeah, I mean, we got to start to realise that Xhaka is not the level we should be looking at. We've got to look beyond Xhaka. We've got to look for better players than Xhaka, and there are loads out there. We're not recruiters. We're not the people working in football. We're supposed to have people in our club who should be able to find a good defensive or ball-winning midfielder who can come in and do a real good job, who definitely can do a lot better job than Torreira and Xhaka. That's what we need. And we've got to bloody hope. We've got to hope they're going to do that. That's what we've got, isn't it? Is this hope?
And with Torreira, I just want to add that they said that this software that we have, that is what was used to find Torreira and then his World Cup performances. And I was actually not kind of happy that we let go of some of those stupid scouts that probably we had at the club, who are getting us such players, who are monitoring such players, and then telling to the recruitment team that you need to sign these players. Some of them obviously did a good job with players like Martinelli coming in, But then that was, I think, more involving Edu and his Brazilian contacts. But then what have we signed? What are the kind of players that we have signed in recent times? If you see, we haven't been signing real good players apart from those that we have probably seen some of them in the Premier League. We got Zaka when we should have gotten Kante. We have gotten players like we got Guendouzi, who is a decent find, but he needs to prove himself first. We have gotten defenders like Mustafi. We have got Mavropanos. We have got some of these very sorry figures in the team and the squad. These scouts are actually earning free money and they're not doing their job. The recruitment is also not doing their job. So I was like, I don't want anyone to lose their job. But when these scouts were fired, like 20 out of them, I was saying they were anyways not doing anything right.
Yeah, it's our recruitment. We know that our recruitment's been
our
terrible,
recruitment
and that's what's worrying. That's what's worrying. That's one of the things in the club that is very worrying. That's what we need to see now in the summer. Now before the next season starts, is does Arteta get the players he wants? Does he get to identify targets and Sanelli and Edu go after those targets, or will it be the same thing where Sanelli uses his little black book and his agent network says, oh, well, you want a Partey or you want this or you want that, but sorry, you're not going to get that. You're going to get him or him instead because we know him and we know him. It's if that's what happens, and I'm sorry, this club is that's where you have to make the major changes. Is you start at the top. You've got to change the entire recruitment team, head of football, director of football. You've got to change all of them lot and just work your way down, basically, because it doesn't matter who you got. I mean, yeah, of course, it matters who you got managers. Some are better than others. But if that manager you buy or head coach, sorry, not even a manager anymore, they're head coach. That head coach you bring in,
Yeah.
If it doesn't matter who they are, if they're not going to get a single player who they want. I mean, what the fuck's the point of that? I never understood that stupid American model where you've got a general manager in American sports who decide all the players are coming in, and then you've got a coach who has to make them play together. To me, that's just, why can't we just stick to what we know in football, where the manager knows what he wants, the manager goes out and gets the players together with someone who works with the recruiting side of it, like we did with David Dean. Like we had before with David Dean.
American logic is weird anyway, so...
I mean, before it was Wenger, it was George Graham. I know George Graham had his bungs, and I don't want to talk about him, but before we had David Dean and Wenger, right, they'd go out and get players. Danny Fishman would help them, and that's it. They'd go out and get the players they wanted, I mean, Wenger decided who we bought, and then it all changed when Kroenke came in. It became...
Trying to understand American logic is trying to understand how
it makes no sense. You got a guy who buys the player, buys or brings in the players. He decides, not the coach, the head coach or the manager, whatever you want to. They're called head coaches, like they are in football now as well. The head coach just gets given players. Here you go. Here's these players. I got them. I think they're the best ones. And he's got to put them together and coach them and get them to play together. It makes no sense. Why doesn't the coach get the players he wants? Because he knows what the general manager normally has no idea what he's doing.
Yeah, exactly. But then the thing is that the manager, in terms of Unai Emery's case, he should have probably gone out and said that I don't want Pepe, I want Zaha, before he was sacked, not after he was sacked. He should have said that before. He should have said that.
Yeah, see, the thing is with Emery, I think a lot of that was just sour grapes. Him coming out and saying that, because I agree with you, Nitesh, right? Like, a lot of that was sour grapes. If he really wanted those players, he should have said something when he was still manager. Coming out when you've been sacked, saying, well, I wanted this player, I wanted that player, anyone can do that. Listen, Arteta's probably going to do that. If he gets sacked, he's probably going to come out and go, listen, I wanted that player, I wanted that player. And you need to do it when you're in a position when you're in the job. It's no well and good doing it after you're out of the job because you can't fix it. It's too late. It's too late.
No, but it wouldn't impact the team in any way, saying that at that point of time. The other thing is that he must have probably said it to the board members and the recruitment, but he didn't say it out in the media. If he probably had said it out in the media at that point of time, maybe the fans would have given a bit of less stick to him. and probably considered the fact that he was wanted to get some players. Like with respect to Torreira, he wanted Nzonzi, but the recruitment didn't hear him out. They didn't listen to him. They said that we should buy
Torreira
them.
was already bought in.
No, it
Torreira
was
was already brought in.
Emery had said,
Torreira
I
was
want
probably one of our
Nzonzi.
first signings. Yeah, but Torreira was already bought in
The
at that
signing,
time. You don't forget Unai Emery came in at the end of May, and Torreira came in at the end of June. I think see that Torreira signing. I just think that was a Mislintat signing. I don't think that was a.
It was.
it
It
was,
wasn't
it
missing.
was,
It
it
was.
was.
And Mislintat was
Mislintat.
brought in. Mislintat was brought in as the head scout, and Emery. I judge Emery on not that first transfer window. I judged him on the one that just happened. You know, where he signed Pepe and
It was a good one.
David Luiz. And I'll tell you something now. David Luiz was an Emery signing.
No,
That
it
was
was a
an
good
Emery.
one.
What?
The
David
window was a
Luiz?
good one.
No, really,
Yes, it was.
really.
Yes, it was a very good window. We had a good window.
Yeah, no. What I'm saying is, are you telling me that David Luiz was a good signing by Emery?
Yes, it was. We
No,
needed
it was.
Luis. We didn't need him.
Well, he's turned out to be a poor signing, hasn't he? He's turned out to be a poor signing, but at
He
the
was
time,
never going to do good things or great things against Manchester City. He was not. He's like Mesut Ozil in some ways. He will do very good against the smaller teams, and occasionally he will give a good performance against a big team. And before the pandemic hit, he was our best defender. He was, whether you
But
want
we
to
didn't
agree to it
need
or not.
David Luiz. We
We
didn't
did.
need him. No,
We
we
know
didn't,
with the
because
injuries.
what we should have done is we should have said to Saint Asher, no, we're taking Saliba now. We're taking him now, and
No,
then
we did not.
we
We did
should
not
have
have that
played a
call.
bit
We
because
didn't have that
Salah.
decision. It was the
Because
club's conviction.
why are you going to buy a centre back? And this is where I'm going to agree with you that the recruitment is all wrong. Because why are you going to buy a centre back and loan him straight back when we need a centre back now? And yet you've got also the chance of getting Upamecano, because at that time we were linked with him as well, and he was for now. Why are you going to buy a centre back and just loan him back?
because
It
I
was the
think
club.
When we need a centre back, now.
That was the
it was two
criteria.
things. It
They
was
set
two
it up.
things. One of it was two things. One, that doing that, letting them keep him at Saint Etienne for one more season was part of the deal that gave Arsenal an
Yeah.
edge in that deal, because they agreed to that. And the second thing is, the guy who just turned 18. It's a good idea for him to get more playing time at that level under his belt before he goes straight into the Premier League. It is a developmental, evaluation as well. You can't just turned 18 into a centre back, in the Premier League. He's got to have another year under his belt and get more fit. Get more muscles, become bigger, and he has. You see, he has in this season that's gone now. He has become bigger. He's got more muscles. He probably will, hopefully, do a better job now in defence. Now he's had that extra year under his belt there. So that to me, that made that wasn't something I thought was very mysterious or really something I couldn't understand, because you've got to remember at the time we had Holding and Chambers as well, who were looking good, together with the likes of the other defenders we had. I mean, it wasn't like we were absolutely desperate for defenders at that time. But of course, when you see now after what happened after with the injuries and how they've not improved and etc. and their playing level, all hindsight's always good, isn't it? Hindsight's always nice. Now in hindsight, not bringing Saliba in straight away. Maybe looking back at it now, maybe that's something we shouldn't have done. But at the time, it made perfect sense. And like that you said, it was also one of the criteria that made us get him instead of the other big teams, because we agreed to let him stay on loan.
They sold him because we agreed to that clause, because we let them have him until they could sign a replacement. And the next thing is one more thing. You need to understand. I said this before for all the deluded guys. Like there is one called, what is his name? Yeah, Mehdi. If David Luiz wasn't at Arsenal, it would have been probably Mavropanos who would have been playing instead of David Luiz in those games, because Socrates is injured, Mustafi is finally a bit fit, Rob Holding can't stay active for too long, he gets injured, Chambers is out, uh, all our centre backs are injury prone. That is the problem. So who would have been given some of those more games? It would have been Mavropanos. And if you say whether I would take David Luiz in those games based on what he has done before the pandemic or Mavropanos, I would any day take David Luiz over
See,
Mavropanos.
I said when we signed David Luiz, I said
Yeah.
that listen, he's a liability. He's a liability waiting to happen. And I said at the time that we've got, because at the time Mustafi was the same, and I said we're going to have two defenders that are liabilities. Why? I get that he's experienced. I get that I get that David Luiz is got a lot of experience. But listen, he's the guy is a liability. We've seen that not just in the game against Man City, but we've seen that so many times before. For Arsenal, he's just a constant liability. He doesn't exactly fill you with confidence, does he? When he's on the pitch, when David Luiz is playing, you think, oh fucking hell, we're right here. We got David Luiz, because I don't think that. When David Luiz is playing, I'm thinking that's just something else to worry about as an Arsenal fan.
See, he
when he first started at Arsenal, when he first came, we were all a little bit worried. We were all a little bit sceptical. We were. And he did have a bit of a wobbly start. He did. But then when Arteta took over, all of a sudden David Luiz started looking good, and everyone was praising him, saying, "Wow,
exactly,
he's a much more improved player." Everyone was building up David Luiz, saying, "Wow, he looks like a completely different player." And that was all credit to Arteta. Arteta's this amazing Messiah coach who can make David Luiz look good, And then of course, David Luiz of old came back again, didn't he? But there were a few games there when everyone was saying, "Wow, David Luiz."
And that's the problem. Therein lies the problem, right? Because I said it on Saturday, is that these players have a few good games and everybody thinks they're world class and they're the messiahs of Arsenal. And then when they do when these players make mistakes, it's they're shit. We should never have got. And I'm like, well, I said this. I said we should never play these players because they have few good games and everyone starts wanking off thinking that we've turned a corner.
And the thing is, David Luiz has attracted all the attention in the Manchester City loss, whereas 9 other players were shit on that night. None of them have played anything. They have not done anything. The only reason David Luiz is highlighted because he got a red card and he got sent off, and he was responsible for the goal that we gave in. The goals would have anyways been scored by Manchester City. You think in 101 minutes, not having a single shot on target is justified? You think that Manchester City wouldn't be scoring goals if David Luiz didn't make that mistake? They also scored the third goal, if you remember, when David Luiz wasn't even on the pitch. And what happened against Brighton? Was David Luiz playing the Brighton game? So it is not right to just blame one defender. Yes, he made a mistake. He makes mistakes. But then David Luiz has contributed to some wins and some crucial points as well. Like I think he scored a winning goal against, I don't remember the exact team. He scored one of the winning goals, which was the only goal of the game. And he got us 3 crucial points. So the thing is, David Luiz was never good enough to play against a quick-paced team like Manchester City. That is why he was started off on the bench. But then again, what happened to Pablo Mari? Pablo Mari went off injured. Now, Xhaka went off injured in the first minute. You wanted to see Xhaka embarrass himself, but he went off in the first minute itself. If Xhaka would have played those 101 minutes, he would have embarrassed himself against Manchester City. Xhaka
it's a lot of assumptions, though, Nitesh. It's a lot of assumptions.
Not at all. There is no assumption.
It is. Yeah, it is. Yes, it is. That's a lot of assumptions. I agree with you. I agree with you about. I agree with you. I absolutely agree with you that we would have got battered by Man City, irrespective of David Luiz's mistakes.
Yeah.
But the rest of it is just a lot of assumptions. It is a lot of assumptions.
We have been losing for 6 years to Manchester City.
Yeah, we have. Yeah, we have.
Xhaka has been in the team.
But see, now you're saying, on one hand, you're not prepared to blame David Luiz for the mistakes, but yet you're prepared that right there just highlights your hatred for Xhaka.
I said David Luiz
No,
made the mistake.
hold on. Let me finish. That there highlights your hatred for Xhaka. Because when I said about David Luiz not being good enough, and it's a difference because I said we never should have signed him in the first place. And yet you're saying that David Luiz, yes, he's made the mistakes, but he does good things. But yet,
yeah, exactly.
But Xhaka has also been in games where we've won. So that doesn't really make sense. Xhaka was part of the 2-0 win over United a couple of seasons ago.
Yes, he was. So I'm not denying that. What I'm trying to say is Xhaka isn't that important in the team. And David Luiz probably wouldn't have even played. David Luiz probably wouldn't have even played if he didn't have the injury problems. And that is why he's a key factor there, because he will come in.
He didn't even start against
Exactly.
City.
But he will, and if he comes into these games, you need to expect these mistakes of him against a quick-paced team like Manchester City. That is what I'm saying. In the Olympiacos game also, we were being dominated by the opposition. And there were so many other players who should have done a lot more. But what I'm trying to say is, even Xhaka has played those games and not made any kind of significant contribution. Otherwise, in the 6 years that we have been losing to Manchester City, probably we would have beaten them once in a while, when David Luiz wasn't even around at Arsenal.
Our major problem again and again is midfield. In midfield, there's no one in midfield to keep players from just going straight through to our defence. And Xhaka has been a part of that as well. All the people trying to toot on Xhaka's horn, they forget that he's also been in the midfield. So, we let in 30, 40 chances against us. That midfield is just like non-existent. And it puts our defence under huge pressure. That's what we did against the Olympiacos as well. There was just no one stepped up in midfield, and they just got through and put our defence under pressure all the time. And you keep doing that, you're going to score. If you keep getting chances,
problem,
you're going to score.
Sorry.
See, we have
our biggest problem against Olympiacos is that we underestimated them. We went into that second leg. We went into that second leg thinking, "Oh, it's Olympiacos. We're going to roll them over." And that was our problem. We went in there thinking, "Oh my God, this Olympiacos, we're going to steamroller them."
How can we think that when we got dominated in the first leg and we were lucky to get that goal?
No, we were better in the first leg than we were in the second leg. Yes, we were. Come on.
We weren't better than Olympiacos in the first leg.
We were. In the first leg, we put in a much better performance. Not a great performance, but it was a lot better than the second leg.
Yes.
In the second
leg was dead.
Yeah, and let's not forget that in the second leg, we were 1-0 up. So we should have gone in there and carried that on. But instead, we went in there with so much complacency and so much disrespect for the opposition. That's what cost us.
We didn't show up. You saw there was no effort.
Yeah.
There was no ambition. No 100%. There's like 70% at best. And our midfield it was just like a floodgate, just opened and just let their midfield overrun our midfield. And that happens so much with our midfield.
Yeah.
Our midfield is the weakest. It's the weakest midfield probably in maybe all of the Premier League, to be honest. I mean, I can't think of any other teams who've got a weaker midfield than us. That's how bad it is.
Our midfield is pathetic.
I just checked the stats again. We were better in the first leg than we were in the second leg. Sorry, we were better in the second leg than we were in the first leg. Just see the stats. We had more shots on target.
Let me tell you something. Stats don't tell the whole story.
We had more shots on target.
What have we been saying about Mesut Ozil and how stats make anyone look good?
It's a team stat. It's not an individual stat. It's a team stat.
But it's still a stat. Stats doesn't tell the whole story. It's still a stat. You can't slag stats off in one sense and then in the other sense say that stats are the overriding factor. Come on, you can't have it both ways. Either you're for stats or you're against stats.
I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is our stats compared to our own stats from the first leg and the second leg, we have done way better at home, which was the second leg. Just if you see the details, every single detail we have done better. We had 9 corners, we had 62% possession, we had 7 shots on target, we had 19 total shots.
But every time they got the ball, they just went right straight through us. That's what stats don't show you.
And let me tell you, Nita,
but I'm saying we played better at home.
let me tell you, if we'd have done better, we would have won that game. You can look at all the teams that have so many corners, have so many possessions, have so many stats, and still lose a game. If we'd have done better, we would have won the game when it matters. With the stat that matters, you're saying that we've done better with it, but with the stat that matters, we failed. And that is because we rolled over and we just let Olympiacos have the ball, and we were too complacent. We went into that game thinking, do you know what? We're going to beat them easy. We're 1-0 up. They ain't going to score against us. It's going to be an absolute breeze. And we got our pants pulled down and got gang raped by Greek farmers that night. Simple as.
And some credit goes to Leno as well. But no one will point fingers at Leno. They will say David Luiz cost us that tie or whatever, but they will never say that Leno cost us that game.
No, the whole team cost us that game. The whole team cost us that game.
Let's call it as it is. Leno did that mistake. He played that ball in the back at the end.
The whole team. And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why the whole team.
Let's not squibble on single games.
No. But I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why the whole team, right? Because we went into that game with the wrong mentality, and our attitude going into that game was entirely wrong.
No, we could have finished a lot of chances that we got. If we finished those off, Olympiacos would have been dead and buried. But
you can say that about every game. You can say that about every game, though, can't you?
We could have won against Brighton, but we didn't. We could have beat Man City, but we didn't.
No, it's a mentality problem. There is a mentality problem.
But your basis is all wrong. Oh my God!
No, you are not understanding the point. I'm saying there is a mentality problem. You're busy laughing and not understanding the point. That is the problem.
Why didn't you just come out and say that? That's what I'm saying. I've just said that in that game we had a mentality issue, and you went right around the houses like a politician just to eventually reach that.
I have been saying that since Unai Emery times, that the coach isn't the problem. The team does not have the mentality of the coach. But that is what I'm saying. Arteta needs to have the guts also. Finally, he doesn't have guts.
You agree with my point. You just went the whole round the houses just to get to the same conclusion as me.
That has been the problem for seasons now. It's not a problem now. But the thing is, the blame goes to Leno in that second goal which he gave away. And if he hadn't, because Aubameyang had scored at the right time. I don't blame Aubameyang's mentality. He was in the right winning mentality. He did miss a chance at the end, but that happens from any strikers. Any striker can have such a bad miss. But the thing was, he did score at the right time. And we were on track to winning that game till Leno decided to play a stunt. And that cost us the game at that point of time. Otherwise, we would have beaten Olympiacos and gone through to the next round.
Listen, if we had gone into that game with the right mentality, we would have won that game. Because what we would have done is we would have gone over and we would have took it to Olympiacos. What we actually done is that we went in that game with half-ass attitude, thinking that because then this is Arsenal. This is the way Arsenal approach that game. They went in there thinking, oh, it's only Olympiacos, they ain't going to do us damage, so we don't need to play at 100%. If we'd have gone into that game 100%, we could have won that game 3 or 4-0, but we didn't, because we went into that game like we do with other games and thinking that we're a far superior team to the opposition, when actually, in actual fact, we ended up getting our pants pulled down, and that's happened time and time again in certain games. We have gone into games thinking that we're Arsenal, because we're a big name, we're going to automatically win, we're going to get the 3 points. And all those games that we've gone into that with that attitude, we've had our pants pulled down.
Yeah, we got bummed by a bunch of Greeks who showed us why anal sex is called Greek.
No, we didn't. We played better football than the away leg, though. But we should have finished off our chances.
Can we move on? We got beat by a bunch of farmers from Greece. We played. Our midfield was once again terrible. Listen, let's just move on. Let's go back to Arteta. So going forward, right? Yeah. Arteta. I mean, how much time do we give him, and when do we start? Thinking. When do we start thinking? Maybe he's not good enough. Maybe he's jumped in the deep end of the pool and he's not really up to it. That's another thing we have to consider, because the thing is, this is his first role as a manager, and he's doing it at one of the biggest clubs in the world. You know, he's got one of the most difficult tasks in the world. I mean, even a seasoned manager, you take an Allegri, an Ancelotti, even Pep Guardiola. I think if Pep Guardiola was in this situation, not that he would ever accept to be in this situation, he would never accept it. But even if he did, even he would really struggle to get something out of this team. Yeah, he would do a better job than Arteta. I think that is pretty much given. But the thing is, you know, Arteta's got a huge task. He's at a big club, and this is his first job as a manager. I think it's a big ask, a really big ask, and we're going to see now if he's going to sink or swim. That's what he's got to do now. We've thrown him in the English Channel without any, without any life vest on, and we've got to see if he's going to sink or swim.
Yeah.
I see with Arteta, I would give him a season and a half, a full season and a half a season, not counting this current season. And the only reason I say a season and a half, because then he would have had 2 summer transfer windows in that time, and if he hasn't done anything, if the performances hasn't improved and he hasn't got his, if we're not seeing progress, if we're seeing progress after a season and a half, then fair play, give him longer. But I think if we're still in the same boat in a season and a half's time, then you have to question him. And obviously, drastically, if the performances don't pick up, then he's gonna go well before then. But I would personally give him a season and a half, 2 transfer windows, 2 summer transfer windows, and season and a half for me.
Yeah, I think that's a fair crack of the whip. I mean, if you don't see any wholesale changes, you know, at least some changes by then, and we see some players come in who are better and improve the squad, and we've got to see an idea, you know, behind what's going on. We've got to see a plan. We've got to see some kind of, idea in what we're doing, some way of playing, some tactic that he's thinking of playing more than just, you know, changing tactics every single game. You know, there's got to be a plan behind things. That's what we're going to start seeing, right?
Yeah. And what about you, Nitesh? How long would you give him?
More 2 seasons after this.
Another 2 seasons,
Yeah. This season isn't even counted as much, but then obviously he has made some stupid mistakes, and I think he going forward will be implementing the 4-3-3, and that is what is going to be his idea. As I said it before, when the first game we saw it against Manchester City, you guys were saying that probably he's not gonna stick to this 4-3-3. It was just an experiment for the City game, but I said it was always going to be his plan, because that is the only formation he knows actually. And that is what he has been doing at Manchester City. So that is why also I think some of his signings this summer could be based on that formation and which players can actually play in that formation. And so at least I would give him maybe a couple of seasons now. If he can't prove himself, then he needs to go. I would have done the same with Unai Emery as well, not sacked him immediately. But then the board has wasted around 10 million on sacking Emery. We can't waste another 5 to 6 million on sacking Arteta. Then we won't have any kind of money left for recruitment. It's better that we accept whatever results we are getting. Obviously, we will make noise about it when we lose. Sorry, but the thing is that we need to be patient, because the recruitment has to get in long-term future targets during that time. Whether it was Emery, whether it was Arteta, the targets that were brought in had to be these long-term guys, and who will obviously be the long-term players. So that is about that. And I just want to address something. Mehdi, you make no sense. You are the Thai of people commenting. You're worse than Thai. Forget Thai. Calling you Thai is an insult to Thai. You are worse than that. You have zero understanding of Arsenal Football Club. What are you even doing at Arsenal? You need to sit in a plastic bottle and go off to Chelsea.
I agree there, mate. I agree there.
Yeah. So what are people saying in the chat? What are people saying? We'll see what people are saying, and then I think we'll wrap up, because we've had a good show today.
Right. Okay. I can go through the chat. Let's see. I have to scroll back a bit. There's been a lot going on in the chat today. they've been reacting a lot to the stuff we're saying.
Yeah. Listen, it's been a great show today.
Yeah, I'm just going to go back and back a bit here. I'm not going to go too far back because it can be too much. But yeah, basically, Jonathan Porter. Big up Jonathan Porter. He's become quite a regular now. He makes a lot of good points.
Yeah.
He's saying our snobbery stops us signing the right centre backs. We were linked with Johnny Evans or Soyuncu at Leicester, but we were linked with them. We didn't buy them. We wanted Brazilian and World Cup winning centre backs instead. And basically look what that's got us. We could have had Evans and Soyuncu. I mean, what a pairing they turned out at Leicester.
See, Evans was a good target to have because he has played at a lot of clubs. But the Turkish guy, I think Soyuncu, that is his name, right? But he hasn't proven himself before, so it would have been a risk again. So I think we should have signed Evans. But because we did not and Leicester got him, then we were stuck with
everyone
David
was so scared of him because he left United and everything, and we thought people thought maybe he was past his best, but he's not past his best. He's been very good for Leicester.
And I will say one more thing. I'll say one more thing. Before we got David Luiz, there was another free agent that I thought that we should get. It was Gary Cahill, but we didn't go for him as well.
They would have done better. Probably done better than Luiz. That's for sure. Definitely. Jonathan Porter again. Luiz has only ever had one good season. That was one season with Conte. Expect him to play regularly better was insane. He makes a good point. We have Adubu Otenye John from Facebook. Big up Aduku. Give Arteta money to strengthen the team. Over too many average players in a big club. Arsenal is unnecessary. Arsenal for life from Nigeria. Well done. Big up. Omar, he's in the chat. Troy Jarvis in the chat. Nice to see you again, Troy. Fred Arsenal. He's been talking a lot of nonsense, but he's entitled to that. Revenite as always. Miss Melina, big up. Jonathan Porter again. City are better than us. That's undeniable, but Daniel is right. There was a lot of assumptions. Unfortunately, Xhaka is the best option we had for that game. Yeah. That's it. He has been our best option for certain games, but he's nowhere near good enough what we need. We should be playing other people and trying other people.
And also one thing, when Xhaka went off injured, our fan base was celebrating.
And Cub says Olympiacos was not better in the first leg, but they were better overall across two legs. Have to agree there. And Sankov says, easily the worst midfield among the top 8 or 10. I'll go further than that. I would say you got to seriously look at the midfield. I'm just going to look just talking about the midfields now, not the rest of the squad. But if you look at the midfield of every other club in the Premier League, how many of those midfields would you say are worse than Arsenal's? I mean, now be honest. There's not many. There really isn't. There isn't many.
Even the Championship midfielders are better than ours.
Our midfield is crap. Our midfield is shite.
Sankab saying we have worse midfield than Everton and Wolves. Definitely, that's very, very, very true. Omar says stats make Mustafi look like Paolo Maldini. Yep, that's why we bought him. We thought he looked good in stats.
Paulo Mustafini.
Porter again. We don't have one international player in our midfield without Xhaka or Torreira. Most of the time, we're playing against more experienced midfielders. Crystal Palace have a better first team. Player for player, we don't have a lot of international players at all in our team at the moment because they're not at that level. They're not good enough. Otherwise, Cheddars just came into the chat. Big up, Cheddars. Nice to see you, mate.
Yeah, big up, Cheddars.
We got another guy from Africa, I believe, on Facebook. Atul Batele, Adekunle. We can't even win a glass of cup with those soft bone players. Basically. Yep, very, very soft players. Steve or the Arsenal misfit, he said we could do any better because the players had nothing left in the game. We are not able to compete for 90 plus minutes until the fitness is addressed. We would I don't know, something with Party up and McCann on the field. We should have those players definitely.
And one thing I'll just quickly add: a lot of guys wanted Mustafi and Socrates to leave the club. No problem with that. That is obviously true. But the thing is, when our injuries hit us, when our centre backs start getting injured, Now Mustafi has become our first choice centre back. So what options do we have? You guys say that we don't want to play David Luiz, but are we doing that out of choice? No. We got to sign him because he was the centre back who was ready to move to Arsenal. And the next thing is Arteta didn't even start him against City, but he did come on. And because of his past performances, that was before the pandemic, he was one of our best centre backs, if not the best. And that is why he was still at the club. And that is why they were talking about that extension. And even Arteta has defended him because he has had a bad game against Manchester City, which everyone knows. And he also knows. He apologized for that as well. But then what happened against Brighton? Where was David Luiz? No David Luiz. We still lost the game. Holding was very weak.
Anyway, we'll move on. Taib, big up Taib. The Poonmeister says Arsenal linked with we're linked with Joe Hart at the moment to come in. Don't know, to maybe back up Martinez or maybe give him a fight for the first spot. I don't know. Omar says Arteta is out of his depth, in my opinion, not good enough. Miss Molina says Joe Hart is as washed up as the women in Letitia's Instagram DMs.
You know, some of them are hot. Some of them are actually very hot. Most of them actually.
The Arsenal misfit Steve says get Rafa Benitez in the summer. Otherwise things won't improve. Arteta not experienced enough and proven it in spades. In a season and a half, we'll be in relegation battle. We finish no better than 11th. Yeah, I mean, at the moment, it's not looking good, is it? We've got to see some improvements in the summer, definitely in the squad. We've got to sell a lot of the deadwood, see how much we can get rid of, and we've got to bring in at least 3 or 4 quality players at least if we're going to try and improve at all next season. Jonathan Porter again. Arteta has to have all of next season, but needs backing if he wants Ozil. Then we pay off the contract. We don't have good enough players. Look how many internationals are in our squad, exactly. Arsenal inside Sam G said that's too long. We could be fighting relegation at that point. He's out of his depth. He's not good enough for Arsenal yet. That's what Sam G is saying. Omar is saying I give him next season and assess by Christmas. Alian Mahmoud is having a bit of a laugh, I think. Big up Alian Mahmoud in the chat. He said give him 10 seasons.
10 seasons and 350k a week.
Yeah, 10 seasons. 10 seasons. We could possibly be in League 2 by then.
Cheddars is saying Klopp was very stubborn at first, but paid off. But listen, Klopp at least was showing he had an idea about things. You know, he made it clear. He had a clear way of doing things.
He got rid of the transfer committee. He got rid of that transfer committee, and that is when the things changed at Liverpool.
Yeah, exactly. It's a good point. We got a chat here from John Stone, Dejaka, and Baya from Africa, Facebook. Arsenal is arguably full of average players who can't take us anywhere. What we can only do is escape relegation, nothing more. Our owner Stan is not an Arsenal fan at all. The board is just there to sink our ship. The only option to save Arsenal is buying quality players, which is a tall order for the owner and the board. No wonder we can't even salvage a single point from Brighton the whole season. Yeah, makes a valid point. And that's it. That's our chat at the moment.
Yeah. Well, listen, I think it's probably a good time to wrap up. Because we've had a good show today. Listen, Sam, just give your channel a shout out.
Yeah, thanks a lot. It's been a pleasure being here as always, Daniel. It's always fun on your channel doing different stuff. So yeah, check out my channel as well. Appreciate that. It's Sam Greenwood TV here on YouTube. I'm doing chats and quizzes mostly, and I'll be joining Blind Gooner here for watch-alongs. Catch me in about 2 hours. I'm going to be having a nice talk with Devon, the American Arsenal supporter from Atlanta in America, who had that very passionate rant and speech on Terry's show after the Brighton game. I'm going to be talking to him in a couple of hours about the state of Arsenal, where we are, where we're going, what's going on, his thoughts about it and my thoughts about it, from get an interesting perspective from an American fan. And yeah, I'm on. You can also follow me on Twitter if you want. I'm at 1980_Greenwood. Send me a message if you want to come on my channel. We can maybe sort something out. I'll get you on for a quiz or a discussion of some kind if you want. And big up everyone in the chat again. It's been really good, and I hope everyone's safe and everyone has a good evening.
Yeah, and Nitesh.
Yeah, I just want to quickly address one funny comment. Mehdi saying fans think that Luis was best before lockdown, and he thinks that I think Luis is world class and I should get a job at Aston Villa. I would take the job at Aston Villa. I don't think I'll get a managerial job because I don't have a license, but whatever job, you wouldn't even survive at a Spurs wank along. But anyways, the point is, there are some deals that happen which can benefit the club in the long run. And David Luiz has benefited us in this season. He has cost us points as well, but then it benefited us in some ways as well. Anyways, yeah. So I and Simpy are doing a watch along along with the Revenai on his channel for the Manchester City game, followed by FPL tips. And that is what is going on in, I think, around 4 hours time from now. Simpy, if you can put the exact timing, the UK timing of the show, I think it's 8 p.m. around 8 p.m. that the game is there. So we'll start at 7:50 on Simpy's channel, Simpy141. Apart from that, you can find me on Arsenal FC Fans on Facebook. And Mehdi, please don't find me on Arsenal FC Fans. I don't want to be kidnapped. And yeah, the next thing is you can also find me on Beyond the Post on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. And obviously, I'm on the Blind Gooners channel whenever we have a good debate or a good discussion. I don't mind other people giving their opinions, but sometimes you need to stop behaving like someone we know from another channel who just likes to rant, and has no base about his opinions.
Yeah, so listen, guys, thanks to everybody who's tuned in on Facebook and on YouTube. For you guys on Facebook, please do subscribe to the Blind Gooner. Please do subscribe to the Blind Gooner because I do content on this channel as well, which I think you guys would really enjoy. So yeah, please do subscribe. Also, you can I have a Facebook page, so please go and like the Facebook page, the Blind Gooner, and Twitter as well is the Blind Gooner. So yeah, please go and check out all of that. But listen, guys, thanks very much for tuning in. It's been a great show with great topics. And listen, thanks to Nitesh and Sam for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure. So yeah, listen, I'll be back. I'm not entirely sure what I'm doing for the rest of the week on this channel, but stay tuned because I'll be back with more content. So until then, it's a goodbye from me and a goodbye from Nitesh and Sam.
See you, folks.
Granit Xhaka is a legend.